Howdy folks, we're going to do another review comparison video between the Heritage Rough Rider and the Chiappa 1873-22. This is going to be more of a shop review, like cleaning and maintenance type of thing, but so I guess for starters I'm going to tell you what is easier about a Heritage compared to a Chiappa. So when you take apart a Heritage, well, really either one of them. So after you take your frame off of your grip frame, you're going to have this spring and this little pin that are going to pop out of here. And what those do is they hold retention on your loading gate so it'll snap shut. So they both have a pin there and they both have the spring. On the Heritage, that's the only spring you have to worry about. On the Chiappa, I'm not going to take it apart because it was a pain to put back together, but there's an extra hole above. This is where your screw goes in the back of your frame. There's an extra hole above that with another pin and another spring, and it is tiny. And twice when I was trying to put it back together, I launched it into my shop. By some miracle found it back fairly quickly both times, but can't expect that to continue. So both of them, as far as disassembling it further, you've got your trigger spring, you got your stop, that little thing right there that you see, and your hammer and your rotator and the spring. That's your main parts. If you disassemble it past this, pretty self-explanatory. A little hard to get back in and get everything lined up, but it's doable. So on a Heritage, you put that spring and pin back in, put your grip over, and you put your hand in, if I can get where you can see it, you hold it like that. When you're taking it apart, you want to hold it like that too, so that spring doesn't launch into oblivion somewhere. Got ahead of myself here. I got to put my loading gate back in. You want that in first because that spring that pin rides up against it with that spring. So I'm going to take one of my screws, start it in the back here, using a screwdriver from a Wheeler gunsmithing screwdriver set. If you don't already have a gunsmithing screwdriver set, whether it's Wheeler or I don't know what other brands there are, I'm not an expert on what's the best one. If you don't already have a gunsmithing screwdriver set, I can highly recommend you get one. Save yourself a lot of time and money and potential of ruining your screws. Apparently I thought my screw was stripped out and that's why it fell out, but apparently it's not the screw, it's the threads in the actual frame, because that was a new screw and it still doesn't work. That's besides the point. Anyway, having screwdrivers that fit your screws so you don't ruin the heads is a very good thing, because for years I didn't know any better and I have ruined a few screws that could have been avoided if I would have had a hollow ground screwdriver instead of just a hardware one. Get this put back together. One more screw here. So these have actual gun screwdrivers. The ones on the Chiappa, some things I've looked at online, they say that they're actually wood screws, which they kind of look it. So your cylinder is all one piece. Put it on half cock, open your loading gate, pop it into place, put your pin in, as you can see, all ready to go. Pretty simple. And the chiappa, so I had to put the grip frame and trigger guard assembly, all that, on top of that spring, and that hits the frame and puts tension on it. This one does the same thing, down in the same spot. Plus, back here, you have another spring. So you got one on the bottom and one on the back. And trying to get both of them lined up at the same time is very difficult. And to add to that, where you're trying to keep all that lined up without popping off your spring and having that shoot across the shop like happened to me twice, if you try to put this on like I just did this Rough Rider with the grips on, it doesn't work. You have to take your grip off and depress your hammer spring ever so slightly to get your hammer over it. If you don't, like I did the first time I tried, you end up scraping the back of the hammer. If you knew about that ahead of time, and maybe if I would have watched videos enough, I would have, but I've taken this apart enough times that, you know, should be pretty much the same, but it's not. You got to take off the grip. So that's kind of the reason and why I'm even making this video, is to let people know that it's not that big of a deal, but it's an extra step and it's an extra thing that can go wrong. That extra spring in the back here, I don't even know what it does or what it's for. If somebody knows, put it in the comments so the rest of us know. Haven't had this gun all that long to know everything about it. There's a little like ball bearing or whatever that spring rides on, and that's got to be sitting underneath that, and I couldn't get it on with the grips on it. So just one more thing that's extra, where the Rough Rider, you don't have to do that, it's just easier. So that's pretty much it as far as like what's better about one or the other. Both of them, you got to be careful you don't over tighten these grip screws, because I actually stripped out the little brass insert thing there, but you can order a new one. I forget what it was, like $5, and I ordered a few other things to make shipping worthwhile, and it came with the insert for this side and a new screw, and all I had to do is just pop it in there, tighten it, and that grip is as tight as can be. So Heritage wins again. I'd say they're a lot better for taking apart and putting back together. You have less steps. Which one's more historically accurate internally, I'm not sure. I don't have a 45 Colt. Doubt if I ever will, because they're kind of pricey. But that's kind of my take on it. Which one is easier to do your maintenance on, because for me that kind of plays into a factor of which one you would buy. So I think I mentioned what I figured I should mention, and thanks for watching.